Love at the party. It was one of those nights when the air felt alive with excitement, as though the world had come together for a single, vibrant moment. The music pulsed through the crowded room, a mix of electronic beats and laughter. The lights flashed in sync with the rhythm, casting shadows that danced across the walls. People were lost in their conversations, drinks in hand, while some were dancing in the middle of the floor, caught up in the energy of the party. In the corner of the room, Emma sat alone on a plush velvet couch, nursing a half-finished drink. She wasn't shy, but there was something about this party that made her feel like an outsider. She had been invited by her friend, Sarah, but somehow she felt disconnected from the boisterous crowd. She glanced around, observing the sea of faces, most of them unfamiliar. A group of friends was laughing loudly near the bar. Another was deep in conversation, while others swayed to the music. Her eyes wandered across the room, and then they landed on him. He stood by the window, leaning casually against the frame, a glass of whiskey in hand. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and the way he smiled made her heart skip a beat. There was something magnetic about him, a calm confidence that made him stand out in the sea of energy. His eyes met hers for a brief moment, and he offered a small, knowing smile. Emma felt a strange flutter in her chest, but she quickly turned her gaze away, hoping her flushed cheeks weren't too noticeable. For the next hour, Emma tried to focus on the party, chatting briefly with a few people she knew, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the stranger by the window. There was something about him that intrigued her. She couldn't put her finger on it. Was it the way he carried himself, or the way his eyes seemed to observe everything with quiet intensity? Whatever it was, Emma found herself wanting to know more. As the night wore on, the crowd began to thin out. Sarah, her friend, had already left with her boyfriend, and Emma was starting to think about calling a cab to head home. Just as she was about to get up, she saw him again. This time, he was heading her way. Her heart skipped a beat, and before she could gather her thoughts, he was standing in front of her. "Hey," he said with that easy smile, "I couldn't help but notice you sitting here alone. Mind if I join you?" Emma was taken off guard. She had never expected him to approach her, and now that he had, she felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. "Sure," she said, offering a small smile in return. He sat down beside her, close enough for her to feel the warmth of his presence, but not too close to make her uncomfortable. "I'm Jake," he said, extending a hand. "Emma," she replied, shaking his hand. His grip was firm but not overwhelming, and his touch sent a shiver down her spine. For a while, they talked about nothing in particular. Casual small talk at first. The conversation ebbed and flowed, as natural as breathing, but with each passing minute, Emma found herself more and more drawn to him. He was funny, kind, and there was something about the way he listened that made her feel like the only person in the room. She found herself laughing more than she had all night. As they talked, the music faded into the background, and the noise of the party seemed to disappear. It was just the two of them, sharing this quiet corner of the world. She learned that Jake was an artist, someone who spent his days painting, capturing the world in colors and strokes. He told her stories of his travels, places he had been, people he had met, and how the world seemed so much bigger when he was away from home. Emma found herself captivated by his stories, his passion, and the way his eyes lit up when he spoke of his craft. Before they knew it, the party was nearly over. The lights flickered, signaling that it was time to wrap things up. Most of the remaining guests were gathered by the door, chatting and preparing to leave. "I guess it's time to go," Jake said, standing up. Emma hesitated for a moment. She had enjoyed their conversation more than she had expected, and she wasn't ready for the night to end. "Yeah," she said softly, standing as well. "I guess so." Jake gave her a thoughtful look, his eyes scanning her face, as if weighing something important. Then, with a small smile, he asked, "Would you like to get some coffee sometime? Maybe we could talk more?" Her heart fluttered. She hadn't expected this invitation to continue what had felt like a spark between them. I'd love that, she replied, her voice a little softer than she meant it to be. As the last of the guests filed out, Jake and Emma exchanged numbers. They promised to text each other soon. With a final smile, he turned and walked out of the door, leaving Emma standing there, her heart racing. She had come to the party feeling alone, but now, as she stepped out into the chilly night air,